my wife and I, we own Palmer Distilling, and we distill and bottle and label every single bottle. So
Made with love.
With that,
I think it's time.
I poured you a little sample. This is actually how we do our tastings. I recommend 2 sips, just so you get kind of a sense.
All right.
Just so this is not a shot. This is gin. It's 45% alcohol.
What's a sip?
It's when you don't drink all of it at once.
Cheers. Here's to all of you, and it's good to be here today.
YUNKJunk!
What's up, Philadelphia, and welcome to another episode of the Supper Club Sessions with myself, Lou Novak, and my esteemed partner and co-host, Sean Thump McGranahan. Welcome to episode 4, A New Hope. Sean, how are things today?
Things are great in my world. I mean, I couldn't really ask for anything better. It's a gorgeous day outside. People are enjoying themselves. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are hopefully day loading today.
Fun day.
And I think that there's a lot of good energy going around. Good positive energy when the weather turns like this, especially here in YUNKJunk in Philadelphia. We're such an outdoor biking enthusiast, jogging. I believe it's called jogging. People just run for no reason.
Health conscious people.
I don't know.
I couldn't fit in.
It's not something I would ever do, but people do it, and it's that time of year. It's spring is in the air. It's finally unlike I think a few weeks ago I heard a friend of mine bitching about it being too chilly because it was Punxsutawney Phil's fault or something like that, and today it's 81 degrees. So
he's a liar.
I'm just saying, maybe patience, maybe wait 10 seconds and see if the button lights up.
I hear 10 seconds is usually long for you too. So anyway, Sean.
I want to say big shout out to my godmother, my Aunt Pat, who's watching today. That's my friend Lou.
Yeah, it's beautiful weather out. Again, blue skies, birds chirping, a lot of health conscious people out. There was a marathon yesterday. Were you aware of that?
A marathon?
Yeah, we had people coming in our restaurant with the tickets on, the bibs. Yeah, 26.2 miles. I would be if I had to drive 26.2 miles.
You get nervous driving a mile.
Yeah, without a GPS, I'd be a dead man.
I would actually pay money to watch you run any type of event, just whatever it is, without knowing what the track was, to watch you running with your phone in hand, GPS, so you knew where to go.
It would just be a circle. Without someone telling me to change direction, it would just be a lot of turns. Be great at NASCAR.
Let me ask you a question. When the weather turns like this, what's your thing you look forward to? Give me one thing that you look forward to when the weather turns like this.
Yeah, drinking outside.
Okay. All right.
If that's a bar that has a deck, or if that's like a friend's porch.
Day drinking, night drinking.
I mean, yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Stoop beers, porch beers, deck beers, all the time.
Porch beers. We haven't had porch beers in a while.
Yeah, man.
Remember those porch beers down south?
I love being at the bar. I love being surrounded by a lot of people. I like energy, but there's also something really cool about dude, the weather's awesome. Let's grab a bucket, or a cooler, just some Corona Ponies or Coors Lights, whatever, Miller Lights.
Oh, you put beer in the bucket. Okay. Just double checking on that.
Yeah. And just hanging on the porch and just drink and shoot the shit. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm probably a little more prone, especially in my advanced age. Day loading is just when it's sunny outside and it's nice out and you just say I'm gonna take the afternoon off, I'm gonna go get some drinks or whatever, something like that. That's something that is definitely something I look forward to. I'll tell you what my thing, and I started experiencing it over the past 10 days or so, maybe 2 weeks. That first smell of cut grass. And I know you're not big on smells. I know, I'm sorry, you're actually smell resistant these days, which is a shame for the rest of us because we have to deal with you. But that fresh cut grass smell with a nice cold beer, sitting back, watching after you mowed the lawn. I don't have
after
a lawn.
What? After you did what?
Physical activity.
After you watched someone mow a lawn?
I just think that's some of the things I look forward to.
You remind me of the guy who's going to have the ice cold beer while someone's mowing your lawn, and you'll be like, hey, you missed a spot over there. And you just drink your beer and you're like, man, nothing like a cold beer watching the grass get cut.
See, I take offense to that because I definitely would have a cigar in my hand as well. So if you're gonna get it done right,
Sure.
get it done right. But when we're talking about spring and the change of seasons and we've just both talked about when we first mentioned we love hanging outside, bars and stuff like that. One of the great things that I like to do is maybe experience a few different drinks for this time of year, and I think it's pretty well documented. I like my whiskey, but there are other types of alcohol, I believe, from what you've told me, besides whiskey.
Besides Jameson, yeah, there are other things that exist. Tequila is a great go-to for the summertime. Gin is a great go-to summertime drink.
You're absolutely right about gin, and I think our guest today is going to tell us a little bit more about it.
We do. We have Walter Palmer here from Liberty Gin. He's going to be coming aboard the show. He's going to talk about the product and talk about his brand. And we could bring him aboard, I think, right now. And with that, we'd like to welcome in our guest of today's show. We have Walter Palmer from Palmer Distilling. Walter, how are you today?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm very well. Welcome aboard the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for also saying yes.
So Palmer Distilling.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Palmer Distilling.
We started Palmer Distilling about 9 years ago. We located here in YUNKJunk. We wanted to be part of the city. We wanted to be part of a community. We looked all over the city of Philadelphia, and we found some industrial space right up on Schurz Lane in Philadelphia, in YUNKJunk. And we built a little distillery that focused on 18th century style spirits, and our gin is a copy of a gin recipe that would have been used in Philadelphia around 1780. Comes through Philadelphia on the Dutch spice trade, and our gin is based on a Geneva style recipe, which is some of the older styles of gin. Our still is a copy of a still from that same time period. It's an 800-liter copper pot still made for us in Portugal by a company that's over 200 years old. So our still is out of a pattern book that's would have been operating in Philadelphia around 200 years ago. So when you taste our gin, you actually can taste the gin, a spirit that Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, and Washington would recognize today if it had been in Philadelphia around 1780.
So you guys are essentially just fly by the seat of your pants, like not even plan anything or research anything. You just said, "Hey, we're going to do gin." Like what you just said, and we're big fans of your product.
Thank you.
What you just said is exactly what the attraction is to such. Not only we're going to taste in a second, but not only does it taste good, but kind of something we've talked about here in our past podcasts. We do things with a purpose, and there has to be a purpose, and there has to be a reason behind it. And I think bringing in that history to not only, hey, we're going to do a product. We're going to do a product the way it was done way back when when they didn't have all this technology to sit there and do it, and sit there and say, we're going to do a product, we're going to do it really, really good, and we're going to do it with a story behind it. And I mean, even down to the I didn't know that about the still.
Well, our philosophy is, our company motto is "as it should be." And we like things to be real. We want wood to be wood. We want stone to be stone. We want metal to be copper. We don't want plastic wood or fake stone. We believe in authenticity. We're not making 25 different things, and we're not trying to appeal to every single person on the planet. We're trying to make very good gin. That's what we want. We want to be a good, strong house gin. We're not, like I said, we don't make 15 different things. We make gin. We're a gin distillery. And we make it in a very traditional manner. Some people believe our gin is, it is, Blue Coat is a perfect example of a modern expression of gin. It's a very good gin. It's made by a very good group of people. But it's a modern expression. It's what you can do with gin. Our gin is a look back at really what gin was and what it's meant to be and why it became such a powerful spirit really in the 18th century, where most people believe like nobody drank gin in the 18th century. The fact is that gin took over London in 1780 and just kind of completely turned London into a drunken party because of gin. And so this gin is a look back at really what gin was. And so our gin is just 6 basic botanicals. So it's juniper, lemon peel, cardamom, coriander, grains of paradise. That should be 6. And so and we use Pennsylvania spring water and neutral spirit, and that's it. And so what we're doing is we're trying to tee up all those botanicals so those botanicals can shine. In its original fashion. We're not trying to bend them all and make them do something else. What we're trying to do is make them be exactly what they want to be. And so every bottle of our gin, we bottle about, we run our still, it's 800 liters. We get about 40 to 50 cases a run out of it and of each run. And we run our still now usually once or twice a week. Sometimes it's a little more citrusy. Sometimes it's a little more peppery. But that's okay because it's handcrafted, and sometimes nature, the citrus is more forward, and sometimes the juniper and grains of paradise is more forward. So,
as it probably was, 250 years ago.
Right. So that's really where, that's what we want our gin to be. We don't want to be hitting exactly the same note every single time. We want it to be organic. It's still in the house of what we call Liberty, but sometimes it moves a little bit in flavor profile.
There's enough cookie cutter vanilla.
Yeah. If you want exactly the same thing, go to the liquor store and, you can, Diageo, they hit the mark every single day when they make a spirit. That's what their job is. But that's not what we're doing. We're making something by hand. My wife and I, we own Palmer Distilling, and we distill and bottle and label every single bottle. So
Made with love. With that, I think it's time.
I poured you a little sample. This is actually how we do our tastings. I recommend 2 sips, just so you get kind of a sense.
All right.
Just so this is not a shot. This is gin. It's 45% alcohol.
What's a sip?
It's when you don't drink all of it at once.
So cheers. Here's to all of you, and it's good to be here today. So you can taste like that gin is citrusy, but it also has a peppery note, has some heat, 45%. A lot of people drink our gin just straight because our gin is made on what's different of our gin from a lot of other gins. Many gins are made on vodka stills. And vodka stills, they're very expensive and very beautiful, but they're about extracting flavor. So they strip away
getting it all
of the flavor. Our still is, we took an historic approach, so we use a whiskey still. So whiskey stills are about compression of flavor. So you get more of a whiskey mouthfeel in our gin than you do in a lot of other gins. So you can actually that's why our gin makes an excellent martini, or you can just pour it on the rocks, and it makes a fabulous, just a drink to sit around the fire and smoke a cigar with. It's perfect for that because it has that kind of bolder mouthfeel that a lot of gins don't have. But that's just what makes ours a little different.
So it's funny you say that because I do enjoy my cigars every now and then and every day. And I
you don't happen to have a Padron anniversary on you.
I don't. But I know a great cigar shop down the street named Smoke that we can top that.
Okay.
And Eli's Amalgam from Smoke Cigar Lounge is chef's kiss of cigars, and it's definitely one of my go-tos. And it pairs perfectly with this. So what I did was I went down there and we just did, we bring a bottle down and it's BYO. And a couple of us were sitting out on the outside on the picnic tables, and we had this and just, like you said, just had it on the rocks. And I was never but I said, just taste the spice in it. And it perfectly complemented that Eli's Amalgam, shout out to Eli, down at Smoke. Phenomenal cigar. And that's definitely something that,
I'll have to give that a try. I'm always looking for a good cigar.
They got some great ones. We'll have to. Okay, we'll have to go down there sometime together.
I might be able to find a bottle and bring it down for you.
We might have to do that.
You know a guy?
Yeah, I know. I know where I can get some.
Nice.
So I like to take the second sip just to see what that second one tastes like. And when that one rolls back, you get a little bit more of that citrus taste, I feel, at least.
There's a
But
brightness to it.
yeah, it's got a fresh feel. So we're just gonna pour a few drinks. I'm not sure how anybody takes theirs. I know Lou swears by a good G&T.
Love gin and tonic.
I've never been a big gin and tonic guy, but I tell you what I do like is a good gimlet. So I'm just gonna do a little lime juice and a little bit of the
Here, let me give you a splash.
Liberty. Yeah, it helps out with that. So while we're doing that, Walter, tell me about your path to being an award-winning, because we give all credit where credit is due. Liberty Gin has won multiple awards and is very deserving. So, but what is your path to becoming a distiller?
My path is not normal.
It never is.
Nothing on this show is normal.
Actually, yeah, thank you. But I think that that's actually what makes paths journeys interesting, is that I originally ran a construction trade association. I found myself in that job. I do have a fine art degree. And after 27 or 28 years, I unexpectedly lost my job. I was about 50 years old, lost my job, couldn't find a job that would pay me what I was making before. And I was one day I was like very kind of depressed, and I was down meeting my son at Temple, and I ran into an old professor of mine from Tyler School of Art, and she said, she listened to my tale of woe and everything, and I was really kind of dejected, and she said something. She said, "Walter, you went to school to be creative. Why don't you go back and be creative?" And as I lost my job, I started making bread. I started making butter. I like to make things. And I realized that I had 28 years of a resume that, frankly, after 28 years was worthless. I couldn't find a job to save my life. I was having a very difficult time. I went up to school in Cornell and for distillation. I started like going down the path of kind of creating a plan B if I couldn't find a job. I always thought like, oh, I'm just going to go find a job and I'll be back to the way I was. And that didn't really materialize. So I went back, I took some classes at Cornell, and if you really want to see how strange your friends look at you, tell them you're going from, a country club to you're going up to school to learn how to be a distiller. And so that's what I did. I went up there, and then my wife and I, we started visiting other people. And every time we got back in the car, we could leave a distillery and we get in the car and we go, man, if they can do that, we can do that. That's no brainer. That was a very naive thought. But the point is that I ultimately thought I would have a job. That didn't happen. And I moved plan B to plan A. I looked for industrial property in the city of Philadelphia. I wanted a company that would be engaged in the community. I didn't want to just be like, it's not about money. It's about like what life is going to give me, what I can do. And so we found this property up the street, and we just started. And, I don't want to say it's been, easy. It's probably been the hardest thing I've ever done. It's been very challenging. We've had COVID, we've had family illness, we've had, all sorts of life's challenges. But we're still here. And frankly, we've had the busiest first quarter of any year since we've been in business this year. And that's coming from, losing our lease, having to move our distillery, and, kind of trying to regain our footing. But maintain our relationships with all of our customers as best we can. And that's what we've done. And I think we're, knock on wood, I think we're teeing ourselves up to be a very stable and prosperous company. We didn't, our new location doesn't have a tasting room. And so now we try to go out more to bars and restaurants and
podcasts
and try to meet people where they are, rather than having them come to us. We feel we have a good story. We feel we have a great product, and we are really very excited to look for the opportunity to meet people wherever we can, whether it's in your fine restaurant or Reading Terminal, or any other bar or restaurant we can go to.
I can tell you this,
I'm going to have a drink.
yeah.
I'll drink everything you just said.
So down in Reading Terminal, at the Pennsylvania
Libations. Ooh, that's good.
and they've got a great selection of all libations made here in Pennsylvania, and really tremendous. And we talk about this all the time. We're all about community. We're all about supporting everybody, and we want to keep things local. And at Pennsylvania Libations down at Reading Terminal, I do quite a bit of shopping down there, and I always like to pick something up. I was really excited just a little bit after we had met and we started using your product. I saw it sitting right out there in the front table saying, it was like someone's top picks.
Right.
And it was boom, right there in the middle. You're talking about everybody who walks in Reading Terminal Market, walking by and seeing it. And it's evident. It's evident in the quality of what you make. It's evident in quality of what you do. It's a great product.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate you coming on.
Well, we're very proud to be down there. And I will tell you that I think what's really interesting to me, actually what we go down there maybe once or twice a month and we sell. And I to be honest with you, I love going down there because you meet people from all over the world. You meet people. I met somebody that came into the Reading Terminal. They were from Spain. I said, and they said, well, how long you been here? She says, oh, I know, I just got here. He says, what do you mean you just got here? She says, where are you staying? She says, oh, I don't know yet. I said, well, what do you do? She said, she literally came from the airport to the Reading Terminal and
where to go.
She came to have a cheesesteak. They wanted to do the standard Philly things. But I'm thinking, this is how powerful this place is that somebody from thousands of miles away comes here, and I actually get the opportunity to meet them. And that to me is really very exciting. The other thing that's really interesting is that the guy that runs Pennsylvania Libations at the Reading Terminal, every once in a while he'll send me an email. He goes, Walter, your gin was the number 1 selling bottle or number 2 selling bottle down here. He says, and normally it's like a brown spirit or something like that. It's like, and look, I stand there and people come in, they're always looking at, they want a bourbon, they want a rye and all that. That's fine. I get that. And look, I love those spirits. But when he calls me up, he's surprised. He goes, I don't understand. Like your gin is actually selling more than like the brown spirits. And I'm like, they like it. I mean, and that's the thing that people, one thing about our gin that I know it's, we've won a lot of awards and we make a decent product. But the thing that makes me feel the best about it is that our repeat business is strong. It's very powerful and people are engaged with our spirit and what we're doing and our journey of our little company. And that's really, I think, the most humbling thing for me. I mean, that and my wife, that's like really, there's nothing better than that.
Well, and you and your wife Katie are just such wonderful people too, and that's one of the attractions of working with a place like Palmer Distilling, and why it's exciting for us to be able to choose who we work with and who we do business with is the fact that we can sit there and not just look at the product, but look at the story behind the product, look at the people behind the product, and make sure that we're all in this community together. Whether it be Main Street, Manayunk, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the world, whatever. We're all in this community together. We all have each other to support, but being able to work with and support people that we all enjoy being around and that we feel comfortable doing, it's a wonderful thing, don't you think?
I do, and I've often said when people ask us about our gins that we carry at our restaurant, it's very easy for me to say, like, they're not only our partners, they're our neighbors. And that's why we love doing business with you guys, the product itself, and then you and Katie as well. So
thank you.
Loved having you guys on. Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you, Walter.
Good to be here. Enjoy your liberty.
All right, we are back. I want to thank Walter Palmer again from Palmer Distillery for coming out with us. Awesome drink. I love me some gin. Sean loves him some drinking. Sean, speaking of drinking, what are as we do this show and as we have these conversations, we do have like this dialogue of some of like best, worst, things that are overrated, underrated. Tell me about some of your like kind of like go-to favorite, not single pours, but actual like mixed drinks. Why don't we go kind of like one for one? Tell me something you think is underrated, more people should try, and then maybe we'll talk about some like overrated things as well.
Well, I mean, I think again, being a brown whiskey lover,
Sean does like it brown,
and I think I kind of tend more towards those areas. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like again, when we're talking about nice weather days, when it's nice and sunny and warm out. Like a good like Cosmo or Appletini, which might seem a little off for me, but just refreshing.
In the history of ever, I have never seen you order an Appletini.
I've definitely ordered Appletinis. Maybe not with you. Maybe I'm just trying to. Probably didn't want you to chastise me for my choices.
As JD from Scrubs once said, "Extra apple, hold the teeny."
Well, I'm just saying, like, just think of things that are refreshing. Like I always kind of think it's funny when I don't like big bills on drinks. I don't like when there's a lot to it. I don't like it when there's a lot of frou-frou stuff. I mean, we talked before about Bloody Marys. I like my Bloody Marys, a good stiff Bloody Mary. I'm not necessarily
you like it good and stiff.
I love it good and stiff. I'm not. I don't necessarily need it to be bent in my direction. I just need it to be like kind of like given to me and served up on a platter, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm gonna drink it down and take it in.
The segue from what you just said to where I'm going next is just going to be cold. Very interesting, Sean.
What about you? What kind of drinks are you like? What is your go-to? I know, again, take out the weather or anything like that, but what is your go-to drink that is something that I'm really in the mood for this. I really have a taste for this.
It's always the same, and it's not just that I'm, plugging Liberty Gin, which tastes just like Liberty and Freedom, but a Negroni for me. It's three simple things. Again, it's not overly complicated, but you have your vermouth, you have your Campari, and you have a good choice of gin, and there's just this marriage of you think you're not going to like it. There's like some bitterness with the Campari, but then you get the sweetness of the vermouth and the botanicals of the gin. And individually, some people might not like any of those things, but together they're just, they pair so fucking well. And it's just that it's great for an after work drink. It's good for if you're doing pre-gaming, it's good for just a spring day when you just want to whether you're doing the cigar or not, but if you're just kind of kicking back and you're like, I'm just going to have me a nice little drink. Campari, I'm sorry, Campari. Negroni. Can't go wrong with it. Yeah.
No, I know what when I was referring to the Appletini and the Cosmo, I think I was kind of like more surprising. Like those are two things I do enjoy, but my go-to, like my Negroni for you, and we've experienced this before.
Jameson.
Old fashioned. A good old fashioned, just really does it for me.
So you like your drinks stiff and given to you, and then you also like old fashions.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, but
almost like there's a pattern here.
I mean, I think Stan Marsh said it wisely. Nothing like a good old fashioned. I mean, simple as that. But a good old fashioned, especially when you go to a place that really does it right. So funny story. I went to a show the other night. Because not like you, I am cultured. So I do experience things.
Did your show involve dancing ladies?
It did actually.
Okay. We have different culture.
Me and my sister-in-law went to see a play called Hadestown. Which is I guess it's a Broadway show type of thing, music, all that type of stuff. Phenomenal show. Okay.
Where was it at?
I was down at the Academy of Music on Saturday night.
Nice.
And we had great seats. My sister-in-law, Danielle, my favorite sister-in-law, as she calls me, her favorite brother.
How many sister-in-laws do you have?
One.
Oh, okay.
She is the best.
And she's the best one. Gotcha.
But she we had great seats. It was a great show. It was a fun show. I recommend it to anybody. Really great story, really great music. Kind of has like a New Orleans kind of jazz type feel. The band was phenomenal. The chorus was phenomenal. Anyway,
nice.
So as I'm waiting for her down there at Broad Locust to get there, I decided, well, I got some extra time because I was actually on time. I was actually a little bit early for once.
I don't believe anything you're saying from this point on.
So I ran across the street to a place called Del Frisco's Grill. Okay, Del Frisco's Grill has been there for I want to say what was it 6-7 years, something like that. I can't remember. I knew some of the guys who helped open it up, and I knew some staff there, and there was a great bartender there, Jamie Rowland. Shout out to Jamie. Jamie, she made me a great makers on the rocks. But when they first opened up, they had this old fashioned, and it wasn't anything special about it. I mean, it was an old fashioned,
right?
But I mean, I would slurp them down like there was no tomorrow because it was just so perfectly made. Because it wasn't just that kind of like when you go to a regular bar and they're like, oh, can I get an old fashioned? The bartender's like, I gotta get the muddler out and all that type of stuff. And no, they were like, old fashioned, absolutely. What kind of bourbon you want with it? And boom, 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 and knock it out. And it was hitting a home run every single time. So like, I still in the back of my mind can taste that old fashioned. Running down the back of my tongue and just like, really just like hitting a home run every time I went there. It was like, and we went there a lot, back in the day, but it was like, hey, like I got to get that in and enjoy it. But like a good old fashioned really does body
I've
good.
been known to have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 old fashions at times. Yeah. Big fan. I remember one time I was out to lunch with friends and we were at, I think we're at Capitol Grill over in Cherry Hill.
Yeah.
And,
well, it's that type of place. It's like the elevated places, are the ones that probably do them the best because it's like, not only do they have the good recipe for it, but, the bartenders know that, hey, listen, this person's paying $18, $20, $25 for this drink. Make it worth it. And not necessarily it's like, oh, it's got to be filled up to the top, but I want it to taste good. I mean, that's a part of my dinner experience is that cocktail, is that drink, is that glass of wine. I'm not just saying like, what can I get the most of? It's not like, and we'll talk about this later, but it's not like somebody's just pouring it from a mix.
True. Speaking of things where it's not like, tell me about something where it's not like something you like, but tell me about like maybe an overrated drink or something you could just go the rest of your life without ever having again, as far as mixed drinks go.
I'm going to go against the grain here, okay? And I know I'm going to catch hate for it. Margarita. I got no time in my life for a margarita. And maybe that's because I really don't like tequila. I've told the story before. 1994 senior week, Cancun, Mexico. I might have had a few cocktails. That was when I was first introduced to tequila slammers. Okay, which was just tequila, grenadine, and Sprite, I believe. And they were sitting there, these guys were making them, they were slamming on the bar, do shots, fall in the pool. I had some bad experiences with that. So ever since then, I've done 5 shots of tequila since 1994. And 4 of those were Patron Silver, and one of them was some sort of upscale tequila, somebody, for somebody's birthday or something like that. But other than that, I've pretty much sworn off tequila just because I can't even smell it. If I smell it, I go back to these images of these busboys and servers and bartenders squeezing tequila from plastic bottles into my mouth and then waking up the next day and not really knowing I was in Mexico still. So
never drink anything out of a plastic bottle in Mexico, I guess could be
drink to that.
Something to learn there.
But it's I know margaritas are a lot of people love them. I know a couple of places we go to, they sell. I believe La Roca is on record for having sold over 5 million margaritas since it opened. But
actual numbers, you could Google that.
Absolutely, and but they. And
if you don't find that on Google,
Google sucks.
Bing it or something.
I think DuckDuckGo. But I know margaritas. It's one of the most world-renowned favorite drinks that people have. People sit there and go, oh, it's Margarita Monday. Oh, it's Margarita time. Oh, it's Margaritaville. Like whatever, all this type of stuff. Me personally, I've only probably, outside of tasting them for like drink specials or like having a taste it for a sample or something like that for work, I've never openly said like, hey, can I get a margarita? It's not something that's in my playbook.
I don't hate margaritas. I'm a tequila guy. I do have a nice little tequila tattoo right here on the camera.
Somebody else has one. I just don't know.
It's a good tattoo. And I like tequila. I like it, just neat, and I'll sip on it, and it's a good thing. For me, mine it's not something I order, so I don't have to worry about like never ordering again. But I just think the brand identity for people that order Long Island iced teas, I just think can go away forever and never come back. Dylan, our producer, has a couple.
Dylan just chimed in. If anybody knows, Dylan is the world-renowned producer here at our YUNKJunk channel, and Dylan has some time in the service industry, so he knows exactly what we're talking about. But
I think if you're a Long Island iced tea, it's not even a drink; it's a personality. I think, and if you're the type of person that A, orders a Long Island, or B, actually orders a top shelf Long Island, as if you're tasting the quality in any of the liquors that you're drinking, listen, I'll sell you a $24 top shelf Long Island, no problem. But let's not pretend that you're tasting the quality of the spirits inside of that when all you're tasting is all of the bullshit that goes inside of a Long Island iced tea.
A Long Island iced tea is the equivalent of a bitch slap. It's literally like if somebody ordered a Long Island iced tea and I was still bartending, which luckily 24 years ago, Mike Driscoll Finnegan's Wake decided I was not supposed to be a bartender material. And decided to make me manager.
But you weren't bitch slapping material.
But if I was to still be a bartender today and somebody ordered a Long Island iced tea, my move would probably be like, okay, hold on real quick. And just smack and be like, that'd be $18.
Fair enough.
Because that's what I feel like again, there's no reason if everybody thinks, okay, Long Island iced tea is, it's got all these liquors in it, so I'm going to get messed up. Yeah, we're going to have a good old time. You could do that with other things. Okay. Here's the inside scoop.
Trade secrets.
Dylan, coming on a close up. Long Island iced tea doesn't have more alcohol than other drinks. It just has 4 different little pours. That's it.
But what if I get it with no ice? That comes with more alcohol, right?
No, I mean,
what do you mean no? Less ice means more alcohol, right?
You would think, but then when they get it and it's still like a half of a glass, they say, "Where's the rest of it?" You know what you do then? You just top it off with some Coke
or soda. Yeah, absolutely. So I know we're not at the 86 part yet, but let's 86 Long Islands and the Long Island drinkers.
Fast forward to 86 list right now. Listen, if there's a drink out there that should be 86 forever. Long Island iced tea. You know what? I'm going to skip. You could do your 86 later.
Oh, sure.
My 86 right now is going to be something different. My 86 right now is Long Island iced teas. And even worse, okay, I'll just back that up a little bit. Pre-mixed Long Island iced teas. Because if you're going to a bar, not for nothing, if you're going to a bar and you're ordering a Long Island iced tea, chances are that bar probably might have a premix of it because if it's a bar where you frequent. Because if you're the guy that comes in and orders Long Island iced tea all the time, they're saying,
he's back.
He's back. All right, break out the Long Island iced tea mix, pre-mixed alcohols. They can kick the curb. And I'm not talking about like a great thing like Surfside iced tea, which is iced tea and water.
Not a premix.
That's not a premix. It's a big difference. I'm talking about margarita mixes that are pre-made, Long Island iced tea mixes that are pre-made. What's the point? How about the Jack and Coke premix? That's not actually Jack and Coke.
Again, supply without a demand.
So anyway, I'm
I mean, that's Sean's little premature 86. Buzzwords we thought about with Sean today. Stiff, bent over, giving it to you how you like it, and premature. So that's good to know.
You forgot Brown.
And I can't ever forget Brown with you. Sorry. Sincerest apologies. I don't apologize often, but when it's warranted, I never want to not associate Brown with Sean.
So just so we're on the same page, that was my soapbox was pre-mixed alcohol drinks. Okay.
Fair enough. It's a nightmare. I mean, when
get rid of pre-mixed alcohol. If you're going to a bar, and you're hoping to enjoy a drink, hopefully they're making it for you fresh. But if you feel that you want something similar to be made at home, make it at home. It's not that much of an investment. It's not that much. I mean, I keep stuff on hand just in case somebody might come over, just because you never know. Or if I'm hosting people over, I'm going to sit there and ask people, hey, what are you drinking? So I can make sure I have them for them. But Premixes, and state of PA, PLCB might hate me for this. Premixes can suck ass.
There's too many good quality spirits out there to buy a premix.
This day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about stuff out there like Liberty Gin, stuff that's locally made, like a stateside vodka.
Oh yeah.
Again, I could very easily make iced tea and mix it with my stateside vodka. Okay. Or I could just go and get stateside vodka. Okay. Yeah. But the bottom line is that I'm still making with quality product. I'm not going for bottom of the barrel
plastic jug.
What kind of chemicals are in
Comes
there?
In a half gallon with a handle built into it.
What red number 5 dye was used for it to make it look like what it's supposed to? The hell with that. There's too many good products out there.
I get behind that.
Yeah.
So 4 episodes in and we're still agreeing. So that's a good sign, right? Maybe we'll make it to 5 episodes. Who knows?
Did we get canceled yet?
We got to work harder for that.
Yeah, I think we did.
We'll start next week. We'll start religion and politics.
Okay.
And we'll try to work on the cancellation of things. I know I could tell you a time that someone probably wanted to cancel me. Well, I could probably tell you lots of times people wanted to cancel me. Sean, I have Sean's attention.
Do you want me to start now, or let me ask you a question, Lou? When you talk about canceling stuff, okay. One of the things we talk about all the time is tales from the walk-in. Okay. Now, being in front of the house and dealing with guests and stuff like that. We deal with those situations where somebody comes up to us and just blows our mind. Okay.
Blows. Another keyword for Sean.
Give me a situation where you blew somebody's mind.
Well, I guess a good go-to situation for me would be, rather than being on the front house end of things, I could tell you about a time where I was the guest in this scenario.
Right. Were you that guy?
I was in Clearwater.
He was that guy.
So here's the thing. There was a last minute trip to Clearwater. And by last minute, what I mean is Sean had the trip to Clearwater already booked, and I was invited last minute. I was an afterthought. And I was invited like, hey man, I'm in Florida if you want to come down to Florida. So I in order, bought the ticket to Florida, the plane ride, and then asked my wife if I could go to Florida. So that could start,
Is it true you didn't tell her you were going with me? Because that would have been an appearance.
I can tell you what's true. That was around the same time where you no-showed Easter dinner. So your stock with Stephanie plummeted dramatically since then. So
love you, Steph.
So I'm in Clearwater with Sean, and me and Sean have been friends for probably 10 years at this point. And I really thought, that we were on some sort of equal footing regarding, our partying style. And I learned the hard way that my liver cannot compete with Sean and his friends when they're down in Clearwater. So, I was getting up early in the morning. I was running on the beach. I was health conscious.
Oh, it was so adorable. It was so adorable. I wake up in the morning, and when I say morning, it's like 11:05 p.m. and or 11:05 a.m. and I'd be like looking around the room and what's going on, and Lou be gone. He'd be coming back in with his AirPods and like back when he had the string ones and stuff like that. Like,
they're just called headphones.
Just did a run on the beach, man. It felt so good,
man. I feel like healthy living, right?
And I'm like, okay, we're going to the bar now.
Yeah, it's like 9:30 in the morning. Like, we're gonna start drinking now. So and we did that. Now it's like 11:30 at night, and I've been drinking with you for 14 hours, which is like something they should sentence people in like the penal system, because it's a punishment. It gets to the point where it's like, how there's all the stories of like when you're caught smoking and like your dad makes you smoke the whole pack. Like, yeah, that's what the fuck I felt like after hanging out with you for 14 fucking hours. Good. I was like, I'm sorry. I apologize for shit that I don't even know I did.
I hope you learned your lesson.
I didn't. So now it's like 11:30 at night, and I'm like Irish goodbye, and like you and like 6 other like friends of yours, and you guys are out still for like 4 hours, and I'm like, the only thing that's gonna save me right now is like some greasy, just shitty fucking food that I could put down my fucking gullet. So I stop at the restaurant right by the hotel we were staying in. Like, dude, like when I walked in, you knew I was fucked up, but it was also Saturday night, and they just got done getting their asses kicked. So I walk in, and there's a clear cut to the host stand, and then to the right is like the main dining room. There's a bar, And into like my left, there's like probably what's considered like a cocktail section where maybe they have
It was
private
a Holiday
parties.
Inn, I think, is where we were staying, and there was like one of those like themed like Clearwater.
Yeah,
Pirate
it was some
bar
sort of
type
like
of thing,
pirate, something
Yeah.
like that, right? So like the cocktail section, like you could tell they just got done getting like a big party there. There's like some dirty tables, just some bus pans, but there's a lot of room right there. So I go to the host. I'm like, give me basically everything on the appetizer section. Give me nachos. Give me chicken fingers. Give me a burger. Give me.
I gotta run in the morning. I gotta run it off.
Yeah, I don't know if I ran the next morning. I just knew I needed food. I was fucked
You did.
up.
I think
right?
I actually have a picture of you the next morning.
Nice. Anyway, so I go to the host stand and I place my order and like, hey, like, we just got done getting really busy. It's going to be a little bit. I'm like, cool. I'm here for the wait. So I pull a chair up next to the host stand and I just sit at the host stand because like I can't stand. Again, 14 hours with you and you're a fucking psychopath. So maybe like 10, 15 minutes goes by and a bunch of people walk in the front door and they see me. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, hi, there's 18 of us. I'm like, cool, let me see what I can do for you.
Because he looked like the guy who worked there. Like, because we always have that look on our faces like, oh, you must be the manager, right?
Yeah, you know something about the business.
Yeah.
So, I'm slightly not proud, slightly a little proud of this, but yeah, I went to the cocktail section of that Holiday Inn dive restaurant and I cleared off all of the dirty tables and I put everything that was dirty on just one table, just to isolate that one table. And then
Did you stack it properly?
I didn't stack it. But what I did do is I then went and I grabbed 18 menus from the host stand and I put it at the table and I said, you guys could file in and someone's going to be right with you. And as I was saying this, I see the unassuming hostess who's just thinking like,
some 17-year-old girl.
Thank God this day's almost over.
Right.
It's been so bad. There's no way it could possibly get worse. We close in 5 minutes. Hey, Sarah, here's your food. I got to pay for it. I'm like, thank you for the food. As I'm walking out, by the way, I said an 18 topping cocktail. And as I reach for the door, I hear, what? And I didn't have the heart to look back. So that was a tale of the walk-in for someone else that I think I did to them. And I apologize.
R.I.P. that hostess.
R.I.P. that hostess. I hope she quit immediately. She wasn't paid enough.
I hope she only quit. Okay. Just saying.
Yeah, so that was one of my the horror stories that I wasn't on the receiving end for, but I think I initiated that one, and apologies to that hostess. Again, if she quit, 86 that hostess. Which also brings us to the end of our show where we 86 things. And before we have 86 episode 4, I want to talk about something I would like to 86 or see 86 maybe nationally. As you know, we're in a service industry, right? And I think the people in our industry work very hard for tips. I think your bartenders, I think your servers, I think people in other industries as well, hair salons, tattoo artists. I think they work very hard for tips.
To quote the great Steve Martin from My Blue Heaven, it's not tipping I believe in. It's over tipping. Okay.
Correct.
And that doesn't apply to just somebody who's serving you a drink or a food item. It's anybody who's doing a service for you. Anyway,
service. Yeah. No, and I agree. And again, these people, they work really hard for us, not just as managers, owners, employers, but as patrons. When you go to a bar, your server's working hard for you. They're trying to give you good service. The bartender is trying to give you good service and get you a good drink and make it worth your while for actually stopping in their establishment. And they should be compensated for tipping. Okay. What needs to be 86 is tipping for non-service related employees or services.
Give me an example.
Subway is asking for a tip when you pay.
To eat fresh? You have to tip to eat fresh?
I don't know if it's still going to the Jared Bale Fund or whatever that may be, but if you pay for anything from a Subway, they're asking, and it's not, do you want a tip? It's 10, 15, or 20%. Which tip do you want to leave? Now, here's my issue with this. It's not that I don't believe that everyone should, have an opportunity to make more money. It's that I have an issue where there's a thing that it's tip fatigue. And I think that started during the pandemic when there was a lot of, people, hey, everyone, you're now an essential worker and we need you here because these businesses need to stay open. And as a sense of gratitude, and there's nothing wrong with gratitude, I think people were happy to tip heavy. First of all, everyone got a pandemic check. Some people got multiple pandemic checks.
I didn't get one. So.
No, shout out to our friend Hannah. Some people got lots of pandemic checks. And it was easy to throw money around. It was easy to, hey man, thank God you guys are open because I'm going stir crazy being locked up, right? So you tip heavy, right? But the downside of that and the snowball effect of that is you go to Walmart now and self-checkout, they ask if you want to leave a tip.
Are you tipping in self-checkout?
I would love to know. I like to know where I have to clock in first before I do my own self-checking out. So I tip me, maybe? I don't know. But you know, the grocery stores and retail chains across the board, like 40% of them now offer you the opportunity to tip upon purchase at retail. When I go to Macy's to buy a t-shirt, I could leave the cashier a tip, but why? Right. And again, it's not that
you're already paying a premium at that point by going to Macy's because you can get it on Amazon
not just
for
that,
probably
but Macy's is also
less.
paying their staff.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I feel that, you know, when you're being paid, and listen, I know minimum wage sucks, and I'm not trying to like advocate being cheap, and I'm not trying to advocate, you know, people not making more money. But when you're going out to a Macy's or a Subway or a grocery store or a retail chain, they're making minimum wage or more, most times more. You know, I have friends of mine that are retail cashiers. They make like $16, $17, $18 an hour. Okay. I personally feel that, you know, the fatigue and the mental drain of like, I got to fucking tip everyone when I go out. What happens then is you see reports nationwide of service industry people that rely on tips making less tips because people in general that are not in the service industry are just over it. I got to tip the guy who made my sandwich. I got to tip the guy that rang up, you know, my t-shirt, my pair of jeans. I got to tip the bagger at Acme. Now I just want to go out to eat, and it's like I got to fucking tip again, you know. And those are the people that work for it, that deserve it, that should get it. So I think what would help the service industry and the people that, again, put a lot of passion, you know, into, you know, making your drinks and to serving your food and to, you know, giving you hospitality. You know, if we could get rid of an 86, the gratuitous tip request for what I'm going to call non-essential people.
Okay,
I think that would definitely help our industry.
So you mentioned earlier about how we're 4 episodes in and we haven't disagreed too much, and here comes that smack in the face.
Okay.
So first off, I think what you're referring to is a forward-facing tipping, which is what people call forward-facing tipping, where it's like
flip it over and
and it's almost like you feel guilted into like, hey,
I don't.
But I'm saying it's always meant to feel like you're guilted.
Of course,
like there's somebody standing next to me or behind me that's looking over and seeing like the
and
way
they look at the screen and they look at you, and they look at the screen and they look at you.
Let me ask you a question: when you take an Uber, or you order DoorDash or Uber, because I know you order out 6 nights a week because you're filthy rich.
Not me.
Do you
One day this podcast
you tip
will
on
pay
that?
I do.
Okay. Even though a majority of that is going to the driver. Okay. Majority of the service charge or whatever goes along with that is going to the driver. The fees are going to the driver. It's not like it's like, you know, like the restaurant's getting the whole thing. But so again, quoting Vinny from My Blue Heaven, it's not tipping, I believe, and it's over tipping. And it's over tipping for service. It's over tipping for a level of service that I expect and I want. And I'm not saying that, like, you know, I'm special or anything like that, but when I do over tip like that, I do expect a little bit better service. Okay. So I can tell you this. I mean, I've, from a young age, I've always been tip everyone. Tip anyone does anything for you. I don't care if they're making $18, $20, $25 an hour. I mean, there's times that, you know, the guy at our CVS right down here on Main Street, 3700 Main Street. There's a guy who works there, and I apologize, I don't even know his name, but he's phenomenal. You walk in the door, he's got his AirPods in, he's fucking singing along, he's having a good time. Hey, how you doing? What can I get for you? Yeah, he's directing it down the aisles, all that type of stuff. And there's times I've thrown him money because it's what we do, you know. I hear what you're saying in the form of it being almost kind of forced upon you. When it's forced upon you, it's almost like, are you still getting that level of service? So I agree and I disagree with you.
Well, I have a retort for that.
That's fine. Let me finish my point because my point's more important.
Probably not.
So when I get that level of service, believe me, I don't care if you're a tipped income employee, if you're a driver, if you're working at a counter at some place, if you're the guy at the gas station, if you're the guy at the up at the Acme on Ridge Ave. Sometimes I'll throw, if somebody bags my stuff, because sometimes I don't go through the self checkout because I want to promote the fact that Acme, provides employment for a bunch of people, and it provides employment for people that maybe even have special needs or anything like that. And I want to make sure that they continue to do that. So I'm going to make sure I go through that aisle and get that level of service. I'm going to tip the guy who bags my stuff.
Would you tip self-checkout?
Who do you tip at self-checkout?
That's a great question.
I've never been prompted for tip at self-checkout. Gotcha. If I was, I'd probably ask. And if it was the person who was checking to make sure that the line moves smooth, and that when the light goes up and it says there's a problem with your order, please wait for assistance, and that person comes over and swipes their card, if I get better service out of it, sure. Okay, but I think I agree and I disagree on a couple different points. I definitely believe in taking care of people who provide a service. Okay, there are industries that are what's considered, tipped income employees, where a majority of their money comes from tips. Traditionally, it's restaurant industry people, it's valet parking people, it's concession stand people. I get it that some of those, maybe they make a lower wage with the anticipation that they're going to make higher tips. Casinos. Mm-hmm. Dealers at casinos, they get paid, a regular wage or a living wage, whatever you want to call it. And then they make their money based off of pooling the tips of everybody gets in. Of course, do I think that the guy who just handed me blackjack, do I think he deserves an extra 25 because he handed me blackjack? No. Am I tipping the extra 25 because I know every one of those guys back there deserves a little bit of a cut from my pure dumb luck? Yeah. And I'm going to tip them for it. And I'm not going to argue about it. If it's the forward facing, like coffee, okay, baristas have a tough job. I never even knew about how tough a job baristas were until I started drinking coffee 7 months ago. Okay, we started
drinking coffee.
I never drank coffee before that. I might have had like a cup here or there, but I never started drinking coffee until physically moved here to Manayunk. Okay, but also started researching because we were opening up a place that was going to be serving coffee, and I needed to learn it. Okay,
do you just do like the old-fashioned coffee?
I no, I never did actually. I mean, but if you have some, let me know. but the idea is I never drank coffee for them. But when I see what baristas have to deal with, absolutely, I'm tipping baristas. Okay, so when I get the thing that says, and I know they're not doing all that much different work, but if somebody's providing a service for you, you tip them. Period. I don't care if they're making a Subway sandwich.
Yes and no. I still disagree.
Even McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Okay. Why would we tip a restaurant person and not tip a guy at McDonald's?
Well, you would, first of all, there's the pay scale, right?
Okay. But are you still performing service for you?
Yeah, in some degree. But the person is handing me a bag of takeout food through a drive-through. Okay. Who's being paid $16, $70 an hour versus a waitress who's getting paid $284. Gun to your head, binary. You can only pick one. Who are you tipping?
It's obviously I'm tipping the person who's not making as much money, but gun to my head, I'm tipping them both regardless. Okay. And if I don't have the money to do it, I'm not going to do it. Okay. If I go out and I don't have the money to tip somebody for whatever service they're going to provide, I'm not going to go out and get that service. Okay. I don't deserve to. Okay. The whole point is somebody else is providing a service for you. You take care of the people that take care of you. Simple as that, across the board.
I'm going to say this. One, we could agree to disagree on the standards of that. One thing we can agree on, tip your waiters, tip your bartenders. Cheers to that. 86 today's topic, 86 today's show.
86 episode 4.
86 episode 4.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. See you guys next week.
YUNKJunk!